You're listening to the Oklahoma Onstage podcast, where we sit down with people from the bustling theater scene in the great state of Oklahoma. We hope you enjoy your time with us. If you do, please share the podcast with those you know. If you'd like to know more about who we are and what we do, visit us on Facebook or Instagram, or go to our website, oklahomaonstage.org. Now hang on to your hat. We're starting another episode right now.
Welcome back, everybody, to Oklahoma On Stage. As always, I'm Tim. I'm your host. Today, we are sitting in the lobby of the Center Theater in good old historic El Reno. El Reno has always been a town with grit, railroad roots, Route 66 nostalgia, and a community that shows up for its own. But tucked inside that history is a theater that refuses to fade into the background. The Center Theater has survived inactivity, relocation, reinvention, and even a full-scale identity shift. At the heart of its revival is a group of volunteers who believe that the arts aren't just entertainment, they're infrastructure. Today's guest is one of those people. He's a real estate broker, a mortgage loan officer, a business owner, entertainment professional, and a community leader who has served on the El Reno Planning Commission and has been deeply involved in the shaping of the city's future. He's also a board member of Center Theater for the Arts, a place where kids discover confidence, adults rediscover creativity, and an entire community gathers to celebrate what makes El Reno unique. We're talking about the past, present, and future of Center Theater, the role of the arts in community development, and why a volunteer-run theater in a historic building still matters in 2026. Oklahoma Onstage family, please join me in welcoming Phillip Church to the podcast. Welcome, Phillip.
Thank you, Tim. I appreciate you having me.
So, before we get into all of the theater stuff, let's give the listeners the Phillip Church snapshot, if you will. What's the through line that connects real estate, civic leadership, entertainment, and community arts? What brings all that together?
I mean, that's a really good question. I don't know that I don't have a canned answer for that. I think the one thing they all have in common is the need to be able to speak in public and not be scared of a crowd. But as far as the civic side, with the arts, in my opinion, any city that's worth its salt has a solid roots in theater, whether it's musical theater, live performances, really just any sort of arts. I mean, you any sort of culture at all is required for a decent city, in my opinion.
Very good. And definitely the El Reno's got a history, it's got a culture, and to bring all of that together, I think is a great thing. So when did theater first enter your life?
I was probably about, I think, 8 or 9 years old. My stepmother was involved in the Reno Community Theatre. And this would have been, 83, 84, no, I guess 85, 86, somewhere in there, early to mid 80s. She's a hairdresser, still is a hairdresser. And she was doing makeup and hair for the community theater. And they were doing a production of, the first one I remember was Fiddler on the Roof. I didn't get a part in that one. The next one was A Christmas Carol. And I played the part of obviously auditioned, played the part of a street urchin in A Christmas Carol, which kind of fit my personality at that time. Getting a lot of trouble as a kid. I really enjoyed it. I just enjoyed, for a kid at that age, the attention was, just awesome.
Sure.
And it just kind of blossomed from there. And then, all through the 80s, I was involved in the El Reno Community Theatre. And then I'm not sure what happened. I was too young to be involved in the politics of the time, but it just kind of disappeared for 15 years or so, maybe 20. It was quite a while. And then, of course, came back in the mid-2000s.
So just kind of had a gap there of no theater.
Yeah, none whatsoever. Not in El Reno, yeah.
Interesting. So what was your first impression when you came to El Reno Community Theater?
As a child, or?
Yeah, we'll start there.
I was pretty mesmerized. I mean, it was just neat to watch how it all comes together. People behind the scenes, obviously the actors on stage, the director. I wish I could remember this lady's name, but she directed a lot in Oklahoma. It was a redheaded lady, Sharon, I think. But she directed in some pretty big theater companies, and for some reason ended up out here. But back then, the community theater could afford to pay directors and some actors. I remember some actors. One in particular, his name was Charles Beecham, famous El Renoan. Was a artist, pretty well known artist, and I remember he was in that first show with me. What did I just say a minute ago? Christmas Carol, yeah. And I was just mesmerized. There's so many big personalities, so many odd characters. I just loved it.
As a kid, of course, getting the opportunity to play, but to be someone else.
Oh yeah.
It always, and I can't tell you, as you were talking earlier about, coming back to the theater, your kids kind of sucked you into it. But then, which is not an uncommon story, but also the fact that Christmas Carol was your first show is also not an uncommon story. So I don't know how many times I've heard someone's story that they got their start from a Christmas Carol. And so that just seems to be one that pulls people in, and they just get a love for it, and it doesn't go away.
Well, I think it has to do. I think every theater does a Christmas Carol once or 10 different times. It's, large cast. Yep. You can have 30 kids in it if you want to. So yeah, that doesn't surprise me either.
So going back to the history of the theater, as we said, it started out as El Reno Community Theatre. It has its roots going all the way back. Now, when did the theater first start? Do you know?
My memory is of the 80s. I think late 70s or 80s, to my knowledge, at least.
Right.
I don't know of it prior to that.
Okay.
And I don't remember anybody telling me any stories about the theater prior to the 80s.
So at what point did it hit the brakes, as you said?
It seems to me like it was sometime in the early to mid 90s. It was, and maybe my timeline could be wrong. It may be that I just wasn't involved in the theater during that time and didn't recognize it was still here, but I'm almost certain that it kind of dissolved in the mid to late 90s.
Okay. When did it revived around 2011?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
What do you think brought it back?
That's a good question. I believe Kristen had quite a bit to do with that. They moved here from Kristen and her husband, Doug. Kristen is our board chairman, and Doug is her husband, another board member. They moved here from Michigan, and I believe they were pretty involved in theater in Michigan. And I don't know. I wish I knew more to the backstory on that as far as how that came back, because I didn't get involved for about a decade after that. I spent a lot of time on the railroad, different places, living in different cities, before I came back here and obviously got involved in the theater again. But I want to say Kristen and Doug had quite a bit to do with that. As far as the why it came back, I mean, it's one of those things that you don't know you don't miss until it's gone.
Yeah.
You know, historically, El Reno's not had a whole lot of things for children to do. You know, we probably have more now than we ever have, but it still doesn't seem like it's near enough. And you don't realize, and especially until you're involved or you have a child involved in theater, how many kids come to the theater and are involved in the theater. It's something for them to do. You know, idle hands are the devil's workshop, right? So it keeps the kids busy. We just had a kids camp we do every summer, and there was 35 kids involved in the summer camp this year. Had one of our biggest audiences for a show last Friday, 85 or 90 people, which is huge for well, really it's pretty big for any show here, especially kids. Kid shows usually do a little better because grandparents, mother, father,
Sure.
know, all the family. But yeah, it's a pretty big deal for the kids. So that's a feel good.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that always makes me.
I'm sure the kids probably played a silent role in the theater coming back.
I would say that's probably accurate. Yeah.
I think kids as a whole across the board are one of the biggest reasons why community theater exists to begin with. You pointed that out. You know, it's a way for them to escape. You know,
Absolutely.
especially nowadays, kids face so many different things, and having an outlet, you know, to help get rid of some of that negativity of the world, and then also, you know, to just hide away from it for a bit, you know, but at the same time, they can actually, you know, they can learn a lot from it.
Absolutely. And I think it's also it's an opportunity for them too to unplug.
Yeah.
You know, kids are so plugged in today to electronics
Tell
and social media,
Yes.
games, and you can't do that at theater.
Yeah.
You know, it just doesn't. You don't have time. You're
Yeah.
doing something,
Sure.
right? You know,
Sure.
whether it's rehearsing lines or listening for your cues or whatever it may be. It's a solid time for these kids to unplug months at a time.
Absolutely.
You know, sure, when they go home, obviously they're plugging back in, but while they're here,
If they've still got energy.
right.
So that was 2011. Then just a couple of years later, it changed the name. It moved into the Center Theater, where it's located now. What was that? Were you involved when they did the move?
I wasn't, no. And so I can't speak a lot to that either. Just what I've heard. So it was, I believe it was at Redlands Community College. And it's, in fact, in the 80s and 90s when I was involved, that's where, because they have a really nice little theater out there, which they don't use currently, to my knowledge, anyways. Nice little stage, nice little auditorium, really good setup. But for whatever, I don't think they even have a drama department anymore.
Oh my.
Why, I don't know. Funding, I'm sure. But and then, pardon me. And then the theater group had an opportunity to take over the operations at the Center Theater. So this building is owned by the city of El Reno. And the previous mayor, Matt White, had been approached the theater group about using the Center Theater. It kind of just been sitting here, you know, dormant and not a whole lot going on.
Right.
And you got a pretty sweet deal as far as the lease structure is concerned, and it just made sense. Obviously, it's quite a bit bigger, a proper concession stand and everything else. So they moved it over here, and that was in 2013, I think. Yeah, 2013, and it was probably 2020, around 2020 when I re-engaged with the theater. So there was a pretty good span there. I wasn't really aware of what was going on down here. And they've grown it. It's really blossomed, over the last 13 years. It seems like we keep getting bigger. Still struggle, you know, like any community theater, funding is the toughest job of the theater, really, is to secure funding and sponsorships.
Sorry.
But it's been doing well.
So in 2020, the theater actually officially adopted the name of the Center Theater,
Correct.
and the mission expanded at that point. What do you think prompted that shift, and how did it reshape who that theater was?
So I think we just realized that there was a need for not only thespians, but musical acts, comedians, just any sort of live theater whatsoever. And we didn't want to be pigeonholed into just doing plays, right? So for us, it let us kind of broaden our horizons in that respect, attract more talent, different talent, allowed us to do a lot of different sorts of shows. It just made sense. We just realized there was a need for that.
That's very good. And I've seen some of the posters and things like that. There are a lot of different genres of entertainment that come through this theater.
Absolutely.
Well, now, what brought about the idea to do that, to diversify like that?
I'm not.
Yeah, because not all theaters do that.
Right. So it really goes back to funding, right? I mean, the more shows we can do, the more money we can make to keep afloat. We're all volunteer. All of our funding either comes from ticket sales or from donations, mostly from ticket sales. So the more tickets we can sell to any sort of show,
Sure,
the longer we can operate.
makes perfect sense. So moving into the present, this is what you're here, so you could obviously talk more about this. So, walk us through what a typical Center Theater season, what that looks like, putting that season together and preparing and all of that.
Well, so typically, we have board meetings, and that's where we discuss what shows we want to do, other acts that may be trying to come here. And as far as like putting it together, typically Chris and our chairman will put a list of shows together. This is what we could do. This is what I'm thinking. This is what do you guys think? And then we just kind of go back and forth, narrow it down to what we want to do. Typically we'll do 4 plays a season, and then 1 musical. Say for this year, we didn't get to do our musical this year. But we'll just get a lineup together, decide what we want to do. And a lot of it really kind of hinges on what shows we think we can fill with cast members. Because we're kind of out on the outskirts, not in Oklahoma City metro proper. We don't have a huge pool to choose from. But oddly enough, though, we've had people come from Dallas. Just kind of blows our mind, but right. It's really cool. That's absolutely, at the same time. But yeah, that's right. I mean, there's not a whole grand scheme behind it. We obviously try to pick shows that we either think or know will draw. We'd like to do more obscure, kind of niche things, but it's tough. Yeah. Especially around here, if people have never heard of it before, they're not near as likely to come.
Absolutely.
I'm sure that's probably the same with community theaters everywhere. But
name recognition plays a lot into the success of a community theater. Yeah. So I think that's always every theater group that I talk to. That's one of the aspects that does play into it. Now, granted, you do want to expose the community to
absolutely new
things. Even though that show may not sell as well as, a big musical.
It's hard. It pigeonholes us a little bit, as to what we can do.
Yeah. And I think every theater, especially theaters in smaller towns,
sure,
run into that. And so you're not alone. So 4 plays, 1 musical each season, plus you have youth productions, you have a Christmas show, and then, of course, like you said, you do a summer camp. So who came up with the design for that structure?
I would say Kristen.
So she was the one that said, this is what's going to work?
Well, as far as She has more experience as far as theater operate. I don't know, like, theater operations is a bad descriptor. She has more experience as to how theaters operate, as far as this is the season. This is how many shows we can squeeze in, things of that nature. So she gives us the structure, and then we pick and choose what we end up doing.
Okay. So about how long is a turnaround for a show once it's cast into rehearsal, then into production? Well, how long do you think the turnaround is?
It's generally 6 weeks.
Okay.
6 to 8 weeks. Some have been shorter, but that's typically what we like to. For me, I'd like to do 12 or 16 weeks, but it's just not feasible.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
So you also host comedians, magicians, bands, movie days, community events. How do you go about making the selection of who gets in and who doesn't?
It's really the same as we do with deciding what shows we're going to do. We'll all get together and kind of sit down. Okay, look at our demographic. We know generally what age groups and genders come to the theater for any given show. So we typically will look at, do we think these guys will draw out of our demographic or not? And that's really all it boils down to, because we have to turn down a lot of shows that we may think, oh man, this would be awesome, but then it might be only us sitting in the audience. So it's tough. We turn down what I think would be some really good acts, but I just don't think they would draw them, So, but we've had some pretty big names. We've had comedian-wise, we have Jerry Wayne Longmire. He's got a huge social media following. William Lee Martin. He's got several comedy specials on Netflix. And he draws really well here. A phenomenal guy too. As far as comedians, those are probably our biggest acts that we've had. We've had some pretty good shows in here.
What about bands? What's your normal? I don't say normal, but your what's the average? Is there a certain style?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
Country music.
Okay.
It's going to be our biggest draw.
Okay.
We've had some like a ZZ Top cover band was going to play. Ticket sales didn't, and I had a feeling that wasn't going to pan out really. Ticket sales didn't do well enough, so we had to cancel that show. But country music, we've had Grammy Award winning artists in the theater. Brian White, one of them, phenomenal country music singer, and he of course did really well. Young Elvis, we've had young Elvis in here, and he obviously did fairly well. But yeah, typically country tends to draw the most here. Probably typical of most of Oklahoma, I would think, unless you're in Tulsa or Oklahoma City.
Right,
maybe different genres will draw a little better, but
sure.
Yeah.
So how big is your volunteer board these days?
There are, I believe, 8 of us.
Okay. What do you guys look for when you're trying to bring on or somebody's applying for a position on the board?
A warm body. No. I mean, it's sad, but kind of true. So the first thing is, are they willing to show up? We're all volunteer. So, we typically look for someone, that is willing to show up when we need them. That's not going to scare people off. And that will jive with our group. Theater people tend to be a little, weird, I guess. I don't,
What?
well, you know what I mean? Different.
We're weird. It's okay. We're all weird.
I mean,
it's best to just embrace it. So
absolutely. No, I agree. It's just a different theater. People are just a different breed of person. I mean, I think you have to be, especially to be on stage in front of people and not lock up.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to have some weird drive to do that, So it's not always easy to find people that mesh well.
Sure.
But that's typically what we look for. I mean, like I said, beggars can't be choosers, generally speaking. So really anybody that's willing to help will look at bringing them on.
So have you had people come on to the board that have never been involved with theater before?
So I don't think we have. Typically, not on the board. We have had volunteers because obviously we can't do everything all the time. So we try to keep a pool of volunteers. Some of those folks will have not had any theater experience, but typically anybody that's wanting to be on the board has some sort of theater experience.
Okay. So you are an individual with a background that extends through business and civic development. What do you see as Center Theater's role in the broader horizon of El Reno?
Well, I mean, we hit on it a little bit earlier, just the culture. I think community theater is a really good outlet for just community involvement in general. Typically people that are involved in, well, really any sort of volunteer organization are also, in my experience, civically minded. So I think the more people that you can get involved in theater, I think kind of bleeds over into being more involved in the ongoings of the city as a whole. Yeah, I just...
So having a community theater, we talk about community involved, trying to get the community involved with theater. How does that work for Center Theater? How does that work in reverse? How does Center Theater get involved with the community?
So we do a lot of, say, outreach. I mean, we try to have a presence at all community events. Burger Day is a huge deal here. You know, we typically will try to have some sort of involvement there, whether it's a booth, offering the theater for the city, for the Burger Day people to hang out or get refreshments or whatever, or stage. This year they were doing a lot of staging in here as far as staging for the event. We've had shows during Burger Day before. It's probably something we could do a better job of, is getting out and doing more. It's tough when we're trying to run a theater.
Sure.
And also engage in the community, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of a fine line to walk.
That's absolutely, always. So getting back to you, you wear a lot of different hats.
I do.
Real estate, mortgage lending, you own your own business, you're in entertainment, civic service. How do all those experiences impact you as a board member here?
Well, I get to see a lot of different sides of people from a lot of different walks of life. It allows me, as far as me being a more board member here, I feel like I've got a pretty good grasp on the temperature of the city as a whole at any given time. And being that we do lease the building from the city, being able to negotiate those, negotiate's probably a bad word. Being able to operate inside those spaces is definitely beneficial to the theater as a whole. Having some rapport with the city, which sometimes is hard to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So the fact that this is a city-owned building, is it on the historical registry?
I don't believe it is. But it should be.
But it is historical, especially within El Reno.
Absolutely.
How interactive is the city with the theater?
It's probably best that I don't deep dive into that one.
Uh-oh.
Well, it's, anytime you're dealing with a bureaucracy, there's going to be give and take, push and pull, right? Sometimes it's great. Sometimes it's not so great. And there's a bit of turmoil going on with the city of El Reno right now. And so sometimes relationships get strained. Our city manager just resigned. So as a theater, we're kind of in limbo, what that's going to look like in the future, who's going to be next, and trying to navigate those waters. But typically more good than bad over the last 4 or 5 years that I've been involved.
Well, that's good.
So
that's good. So what's something about running a community theater that people don't realize until they get on the board?
Well, let's see how much work it is. I mean, it sounds great. Well, you just have a play, 4 plays a year, and you do a musical. Cool. It can't be that tough, right? Well, until you get involved.
Yep. And
it does take a considerable amount of your time. My wife likes to joke, this is my second home. Like, I should get a cot here. And she's right. I mean, you well know how much of a time sink theater can be.
Can be, yeah.
Before you know it, it's a couple days here and there, and the next thing you know, you're there every single day for months on end. So it's the work factor. I didn't realize when I got involved just how much work was involved in theater. My only experience was on stage. I had never been backstage. I'd never done any tech. I'd never helped manage a theater before. Mm-hmm. So it was a shocker to me just how much workload there was there.
So since you've been involved, what production or event has been the most meaningful for you?
We talked a little bit about this, or the Bright Star, the musical Bright Star. I've never been a musical guy. As far I love music, but I've never even considered watching a musical. Definitely being involved in it. It was just not something in my wheelhouse. So Bright Star, we had a really good cast. Everybody was fun. The show itself was phenomenal. I mean, just the story, what a powerful story Bright Star is. That one will probably be with me for the rest of my life.
It was a good show. It really was. Like I said, I don't get out this way to see a whole lot of shows, but did get the opportunity to come and see that one.
You picked a good one.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It really was.
That show was just amazing. When they first brought it to us, and it was Kristen was pushing it pretty hard, and and I'm like, it's a musical, whatever you guys want to do, pick one. It doesn't matter to me. Then they told us a little bit about the story, read a little bit about the story. I was like, man, it actually sounds pretty cool, you know. And so, like I said, they talked me into being in it. Oh, there's I can't sing. There's no way I'm in a musical. Oh, there's not much singing. Your part doesn't have a whole lot of singing. He neglected to tell me about the 2 solos that I had, and then a duet. So that was great. Scared to death. First time I'd ever been on stage with stage fright. Stage fright has never been a thing for me until that show.
So the public speaking came into effect.
It came in handy. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
So aside from funding, which we talked a little bit about earlier, what is one of, if not the biggest challenge that this theater faces right now?
Advertising, getting the word out that we're here. You'd be surprised. I mean, we've been here specifically in this building now for 13 years, right? Yeah, 13. And it never fails. We'll get somebody coming in. I didn't even know you guys were here. And so getting the word out is what's been the hardest thing for us. And we social media, we don't do a lot of advertising, paid advertising, but anything is free. Social media, all the social media platforms, we're, everywhere. We're always pumping. And still, again, we'll have, I didn't even know there was a show. I would have came. You were in a show? Guy, I've been talking about it for 3 weeks now. Every time I post, it's about this show.
Yeah.
So that's that really is our biggest challenge is awareness, getting people to know that we're here and to come check us out. And once they do, it's very rare that somebody will come for the first time and then be like, yeah, I hated it.
Sure. Yeah. theater bites people. It just and once it does, it's infectious.
Absolutely.
And granted, everybody has their own taste when it comes to theater. Some people like comedies more than dramas. Some people like musicals over anything else. Some people will refuse to go watch an opera or ballet, but it tends to bite everybody a little different. But it is infectious, and once it does get you, it's hard to get rid of.
It is. And people don't understand it until it's like having kids. You don't understand what love is until you have a child.
Sure.
And as far as theater goes, you don't understand what kind of fun you can have in theater until you've done it or come to watch a show.
Sure. So on the flip side of that, what would you say right now, 2026, is the biggest opportunity facing the Center Theater?
Renewing our contract, renewing our lease. I mean, that's obviously it's paramount if we're going to continue to operate. So negotiating those terms, that's our biggest opportunity is to resecure this lease.
Now, do you guys go yearly or is it
It's I believe it's a 4-year lease.
4 year? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty substantial. So when you talk, now we'll talk about the future. Okay. We know where we're at. Again, we've got our challenges. We've got our opportunities.
Sure.
There's things we could do better. Things we probably just, let's not do that anymore. But looking forward, when you look 5-10 years down the road, whether you consider yourself still on the board or not, what do you hope that Center Theater becomes?
I hope it becomes more of a centerpiece of downtown. I hope we can do a better job of awareness, making people aware that we're here, drawing more crowds. I would like to see downtown flourish, and I would love for the Center Theater to be a big part of that.
That would be great. Are there any plans for like facility upgrades, maybe expanded progress, expanding the programming, partnerships?
So there had been some talks previous, pardon me, there'd been some talks previous of the city doing some renovations with some grant money that they were looking at getting. I'm not certain the city's in a position to do that anymore. There's some budget troubles. Everybody's having to tighten their belt,
Sure.
Both at home and obviously cities across the country are having to kind of trim where they can. So I would love to see some renovations. One of the biggest things we could do here as far as improving the facility, I don't know, you've been inside, so it was a pretty steep slope.
Right.
So we struggle a lot with our older crowd, wheelchairs, walkers. They get down, a lot of times they can't get back up there. So I tiered, either to level the floor out or to tier it where it's one step every 20 foot instead of us, I don't even know what that grade is. That's probably it's a pretty steep grade in there.
Yeah.
That would, if we could do something like that would open some opportunities up for being able to host other events, whether even weddings or conferences, anything like that. I mean, the acoustics are great in here. We're set up for a lot of different things, but our seating and the setup of the seating limits us considerably as far as what we can do. We could do dinner theater if we had space for tables and chairs and things like that. That would be that's on the top of my wish list.
Yeah, that sounds like a great deal. So how do you talked a little bit about wanting to see the downtown area revitalized. How do you see the theater contributing to that revitalization and any long-term development?
Well, I think it's a matter of, we keep going back to awareness and drawing more people. The more people that we can draw downtown, obviously the more people that are going to be exposed to the businesses downtown. Ergo, more traffic, more sales, not just us, but all of the other businesses.
Sure. Yeah, I think it's kind of a symbiosis environment that as one grows, the other will grow as
Absolutely.
well.
Rising tide raises all ships, right?
Absolutely. So, yeah. What would you say that the theater needs most from the community right now?
Money.
Well, okay.
Well, outside of money, obviously that any community theater, that's your biggest hurdle. But just more involvement, more people. We struggle for volunteers. I'd just like to see more people get involved. How do I accomplish that? I have yet to figure that one out.
Right.
But I know what theater's given me, and I would just love to see more people be able to benefit.
That's the dream.
Absolutely.
If you could dream without limits, thinking the theater, no limits, unlimited funding, all that, what is the moonshot project that you'd love to see happen?
Well, we just kind of talked about it, right? I'd love to be able to change the floor plan, the seating arrangements. I'd like to have more capacity for handicap individuals. I'd really like to. We have a pretty robust senior citizen crowd that attends, and even almost all of our actors and actresses project very well. And again, we have pretty good acoustics, but obviously as people age, they're having trouble hearing. So I would love to be able to install a system where hearing impaired folks can Bluetooth into their hearing aids. I know the technology is out there. So that being able to get more people with disabilities in here would be wonderful.
Sure. Yeah, my home theater in Shawnee just invested in that a couple of years back, and
how's that going?
They seem to have, at least when I've been there, they seem to have probably a handful per each show. They have little devices that they can actually, got in their neck and actually listen that way. But yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of possibilities these days. So what keeps you motivated to serve on the board?
That's a really good question, Tim. I sometimes ask myself the same thing. I just want to see it succeed. That's my motivation. And I do get burnt out from time to time. In fact, recently I've kind of pulled back a little bit. Like we talked earlier, just spending so much time up here. But that's my drive. I mean, I know the impact theater can have on people. And so that drives me to want to see it succeed. And I think we've made progress. We've made quite a bit of progress. Obviously, we made tons of progress since I've come aboard, and it's not just me. But our current board works really well together. So it's really cool to see. And I think the sky is pretty much the limit. As long as things that are out of our control don't send us in any other direction other than where we're currently headed, I really feel like we've got a pretty good team here and can really do some good.
Well, that's again what we talked about before. People that come aboard that want to see it succeed, if they can all get that same mindset, that kind of gets the ship going in the right direction.
Absolutely.
So what do you hope that someone experiences when they come to the Center Theater?
Joy. I mean, I just hope anybody that comes here has a really good time, feels welcomed, and it just experiences the joy of theater. I mean, you get to sit, unlike a movie, it's real people, and there's something about that connection in your brain where you're looking at a live person perform. Pretend they're somebody that they're not. And in your head, you kind of do the same thing. You forget that you're sitting in a theater. It's almost like you're sitting with those people on stage. So that's what I hope people experience that. I just hope more people can experience it.
Always a good idea. So how can listeners get involved, audition, donate, attend a show?
So you can follow us on our biggest social media information center is on Facebook. It's our Center Theater for the Arts at Facebook. We post all of our auditions there. We post for volunteers, all of our shows, just everything you can think of that we're doing. We generally will post on Facebook, and it feeds out to the other social medias. But that's the easiest place to find us.
Okay. So as we come to the end of our time here together, one thing that I like to do, and we do this on every episode that we have with every guest that we have what we call our curtain call curveballs.
This sounds fun.
So, yeah, it usually is, because especially, a lot of times we get talking about history and all this other stuff, so people are kind of racking their brains, and then they get to the end and they can't really think. So it's a lot of fun. But what these are basically just off the wall, off the top of your head questions that when you hear it, it's just the first thing that pops in.
We might get in some trouble here, my man.
There is no FCC on a podcast, so... And if it gets too bad, we could always edit it out.
I'm struggling real hard to keep it PC already, bro.
We're good. So, first question. If Center Theater had a secret speakeasy hidden somewhere in the building, what would the password be?
Oh, I thought you were going to ask me what it would be called. I had one for that.
Oh,
password? Oh, Ray's Boom Boom Room.
Okay.
What would it be called? The password... That's a good. I don't know, Tim. Yeah, I'm rarely at a loss for words, but
that's not the first one. You'll probably be at more. So, you're given a magic remote that can rewind, fast forward, or pause one part of your life. What button are you pressing?
Rewind.
Okay. Any particular time or?
Yeah, I'd redo junior high again. That's where things started to go south a little bit. I made some pretty poor choices in junior high.
I think we've all kind of been there. So, first person I've ever actually heard actually say they want to go back and redo that. Most people will say, "I'm never going back to it again."
I think things would have been a lot different had I stayed a straighter course.
So, of course. What is the craziest thing in your car right now?
Oh, my God. My car looks like I live in it right now. The craziest thing is probably, I've got a muddy real estate sign in there. A bunch of clothes. I don't know, probably the 15 empty packs of cigarettes is probably the craziest thing I've got in there.
Okay.
That I can say without getting arrested.
Oh, okay. If you had to sell a house using only quotes from a Broadway show, what show are you picking?
Oh, man.
See, I told you.
A Broadway show. I mean, really the only big Broadway show, this sounds terrible coming from a guy that's on the theater board, but the really only big Broadway show that I know any of the lines to is probably, well, I guess Bright Star was on Broadway. Phantom of the Opera.
There's some things you could probably use to sell a house in there. We're Phantom of the Opera people in our household as well. So, what's a movie that you've watched way more times than you'd ever admit in public?
There's two. Scarface with Al Pacino and Dazed and Confused. I bet I've watched Dazed and Confused. Yeah, two diametrically opposed movies. But those are probably the two that I've watched more than any other movie ever.
Okay. If Center Theater had a time capsule buried under the stage, what's one item you'd insist on putting inside?
My sock puppet.
We're just going to leave that.
I would probably leave that there. The board will understand the joke.
Then that's If El Reno were suddenly the setting of a Broadway musical, what would the opening number be called?
Oh, I don't know. Probably fake gas stations and budget deficits.
Could probably all be lumped in together. Welcome to Oklahoma. What's a completely useless talent you have that you would absolutely win a gold medal in if it were an Olympic sport?
Chugging beer. It's absolutely useless, but I think I could do pretty good. At least, I don't know about a gold, but I'm good for bronze.
Hey,
for sure.
There you go. Or it takes me back to the whole Jeff Foxworthy Redneck Olympics.
I would probably do pretty well at the Redneck Olympics.
Those were pretty fun. If you could bring any celebrity to El Reno for one night to perform at the Center Theater, who would it be?
Oh, man. Taylor Swift.
Would definitely bring a crowd.
That's the only reason I would invite her.
Okay. Are you a Swiftie?
Not at all. But I know she'd kill it here.
What's something outside of theater that you totally geek out about?
Well, everything I geek out. World of Warcraft. Gaming.
Okay. So you're a big gamer?
Yeah. Well, specifically, I've played World of Warcraft for the better part of, 20 years.
Sure.
So, yeah, that's probably my biggest nerdage.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, Phillip, any parting words of wisdom as we close up shop?
If you are anywhere near El Reno, Oklahoma on a weekend, come see us at the Center Theater.
Always got something going on?
Always got something going on. Well, I say that. Not every weekend. Check our Facebook first. Make a point to come out and see us. You won't be disappointed.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, Phillip, thank you for your time.
Yes,
Thanks
sir.
for agreeing to be a part of this. Really appreciate it.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you for having me.
We want to thank Center Theater for opening their doors, sharing a little history about who they are, what they do. Again, we'll put the socials and everything on the show notes for this episode, so you can check them out. Like you said, be sure to come out and check out this theater. It's a little bit of ways. It's not too far out of Oklahoma City.
We're 20 minutes.
So it's still kind of like country close to city. So it's not that big a deal. So take an opportunity to come out here, watch a show, support these folks, and I guarantee you won't be upset that you did. For everybody else listening at home, driving to work, listening at work, however you listen to this podcast, we want to thank you for your support. We want to thank you for giving us a little bit of time in your life. Continue to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Our website, of course, as always, is oklahomaonstage.org. And if you have any comments or questions, you can shoot us an email, oklahomaonstage@gmail.com. Again, thank you all for your support, and no matter what, above all else, continue to support the arts.